Good afternoon. It's Friday, March 17th, 2017, also known as St. Patrick's Day. For all Western New York news and radio, I'm Scott Leffler. Mostly sunny today with a high near 37 and an overnight low around 30. Rain tomorrow with a high near 38. What's in the news? Congressman Chris Collins said he disagrees with several parts of the administration's budget, but gives President Donald Trump a solid A while on a CNN talk show Thursday night. The Messy Truth featured Collins and CNN commentator Van Jones and a few questions from the audience, including one from Collins' 27th Congressional District, about why the congressman doesn't do town hall meetings back home. He stuck to his guns and said they're not an effective use of his time. On the note of the White House budget blueprint, Congressman Brian Higgins and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand also expressed their displeasure. Higgins called it a blackened blueprint budget for Western New York. All have said they'll work to add more funds to programs and projects important to Western New York. New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman issued a statement Thursday following Wednesday's stay by the District Court of Hawaii against the newly worded travel ban sought by the federal government. Schneiderman, who is part of a separate multi-state lawsuit to bounce the ban, called it, quote, yet another victory for the Constitution, saying the proposed ban is discriminatory. His full statement is available at allwesternnewyorknews.com. Kiri T. Aiken, age 26, of Rochester, pleaded guilty to bank robbery before U.S. District Judge Frank P. Gerasi, Jr. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Assistant U.S. Attorney Brett A. Harvey, who is handling the case, said that the defendant admitted to robbing 3 federal credit unions and 4 banks in the Rochester and Buffalo areas in 2016. 35-year-old Jeanette Nider of Buffalo, who was convicted of conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute heroin within a 1,000 feet of a public housing authority property, was sentenced to time served. Marquise McMillan, age 25, of Rochester, who was convicted of drug distribution, firearms possession, and use of violence and threats of violence, was sentenced to 25 years in prison and 10 years supervised release. Police news. 46-year-old Gerald McErlin of Lockport was charged by criminal complaint with performing a lewd act aboard an aircraft in violation of Title 49 of the United States Code. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 90 days in prison and a $5,000 fine. Prosecutors say on March 8th, McErlin exposed himself and masturbated on a Southwest Airlines flight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Buffalo. NFTA police were waiting for him when he got off. Maybe I should have worded that differently. The Lockport teen, who was on trial for arson accused of setting a fire that killed his friend, has pleaded guilty to 2 of the 10 counts against him as part of that plea deal, burglary and arson. The August 10th fire at High Tread International claimed the life of 14-year-old Joe Phillips. Phillips was in a warehouse on the company's property along with the teen who was on trial. The boy's name is being withheld due to his age. He was 13 when the crime was committed. Among the charges that go away as part of the plea deal is negligent homicide. A 20-year-old Gowanda man is facing up to 30 years in prison accused of production and distribution of child pornography. Prosecutors say Shane Michael Orend started communicating with an undercover law enforcement agent on the messaging application Kik. Orend shared sexually explicit pictures of a 7-year-old child that he produced while babysitting the child at his house. The defendant also offered to send the undercover agent pictures of the other children if he received child pornography in return. A 49-year-old Buffalo man is facing charges after police say he was attempting to sell drugs near a Buffalo school. Thomas Cox was charged by criminal complaint with possession with intent to distribute and distribution of cocaine within 1,000 feet of a school or playground. The charge carries a mandatory minimum penalty of 15 years in prison and a maximum of life. Brett Schultz, age 37, of Buffalo, was arrested and charged by criminal complaint with enticement of a minor to engage in sexual activity, attempted enticement of a minor, and transferring obscene matter to a minor. The charges carry a mandatory minimum penalty of 15 years in prison and a maximum of life. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jonathan Cantil, who is handling the case, said that according to the complaint, on March 10th, the defendant sent a message to what he believed to be a 14 or 15-year-old high school girl online asking for nude photos. The individual was actually an undercover law enforcement officer. And when Schultz went to meet up with the teen, he actually met up with Homeland Security, who took them back to their place. Sports! Robin Lehner kept the Buffalo Sabres in the hockey game Thursday night as the Sabres got outshot by the LA Kings 25-11 through 40 minutes of play. At the end of the second period, it was a scoreless tie. In the third period, Buffalo started shooting at the net, racking up more shots, 15, than they had in the first 2 periods combined. Unfortunately, none of them went in, compared to 2 of the LA Kings' 11 shots. Congratulations to Big Ditch Brewing Company, winners of the All-Western New York Award for Best Reuben. If you need one this St. Patrick's Day weekend, and who doesn't, now you know whose is the best. We'll announce a new award category on Saturday. To say that there's a lot going on this weekend is a massive understatement. For a list of ideas, visit allwesternnewyorkevents.com. Okay, that's the news. For All Western New York News, I'm Scott Leffler. Have a great day.